I can't speak for the Russian government. I definitely won't speak for Vladimir Putin. Russia's not in the business of making statements. They're in the business of winning a war. An Oreshnik missile costs, millions of dollars. So to make a statement by throwing away Oreshnik missiles means that you've thrown away production that is supposed to be used to achieve a specific military task. And the Russians are very, pragmatic when it comes to that. You don't expend a missile for a statement. You expend a missile to kill people, to blow up things. So when Russia strikes, it's because the intelligence information suggests that there's a target worthy of the strike. The other thing is that Vladimir Putin has been assiduous in avoiding meaningless escalation. He's winning. What the West wants, what Ukraine wants, is escalation. They're trying to provoke him. He's avoiding the provocations because he's winning. Why change the system that you're prevailing in? Why create the opportunity for the system to change into one that you may not be prevailing in? Why, throw away victory? It's a very politically sensitive time right now. And I'm sure many in the West would like Russia to send a signal. I mean, how convenient would it be for NATO to be meeting in Kiev to go, those dirty Russians, see what they've done? Because what are they going to say? They're not going to say it's inevitable that Russia wins. They're going to say, look at the Russians once again striking defenseless Kiev. We need to give more air defense to Ukraine. So how effective was the Russian statement at that point in time? So I don't see the Russians, doing a statement. If in the middle of this, the Russians decide that the target has made itself available, they may strike. But then again, they may not, because, again, you have to play out the political disadvantages of striking during this political sensitive time. Why would Russia want to strike NATO right now? I mean, let's just think about it for a second. Let's walk through this one. Because NATO is certainly saying, we're all coming together. We got a G7 meeting where everybody agreed we're going to build weapons and provide munitions to the Ukrainians. Hey, we're awesome. You're not that awesome, guys. Let's put it into perspective of NATO for a second. 9/11, the United States compelled NATO to invoke Article 5. The United States compelled NATO to do it. We didn't need to do it, but we compelled them to do it. And then from that compelling, we got NATO engaged in a 20-year conflict in Afghanistan. 20-year conflict, which we then withdrew from unilaterally. When you generally are dealing with a NATO environment, we people about Article 5, collective self-defense, but the more important article is Article 4, which requires consensus and collaboration, consultation. We withdrew from Afghanistan without any consultation. We abandoned our NATO allies, and they were forced to leave on their own. That left a bitter taste in their mouth, where the United States invokes Article 5 but refuses to engage in Article 4, which means that NATO is nothing more than an extension of the United States. I think that's the reality, but nobody likes to have that thrown in their face. And now we have a situation where the United States entered a unilateral war against Iran outside the framework of international law, no justification whatsoever. And now they want to invoke Article 5 type response from NATO. The United States hasn't been attacked. The United States did the attacking. But we demand that NATO rally to our cause as if it was Article 5. But we're doing this without any consultation. NATO was never told that the United States is going to attack. And so NATO isn't doing it. So there's a lot of resentment in the United States right now, and a lot of resentment in Europe. You really want Russia to do something that brings these two sides together? This resentment's real. Turkey's the host. Last time I checked, just a few years ago, Turkey was sending a shipment of weapons to Libya when a French frigate attempted to intercept the Turkish convoy, and the Turks threatened to sink the French ship. That's NATO on NATO violence. Last time I checked, Turkey was involved in supporting Azerbaijan against Armenia. Armenia backed by EU. Armenia that wants to join NATO. That's a little problematic too. Turkey went into Syria, was attacked by Russia, went to NATO and said, we need help. NATO said, we're not going to help you on this one. You're on your own. Turkey, has done a number of things to protect itself and ended up getting sanctioned by the United States. Right now, Turkey's talking about building a F-35, type fighter. All they want is old F-16 engines, but we won't give it to them. The Turks feel like second-class citizens. And July 15th, 2016, there was a coup against Erdogan run by, backed by the United States and NATO, a coup backed by the United States and NATO, trying to get rid of Erdogan, but now Erdogan's, hosting NATO. Anybody who thinks that NATO is going to come rolling into Ankara, this is going to be just one big kumbaya party, has no idea what's going on. Vladimir Putin's best bet at this point in time is to sit back, pop up some popcorn, and enjoy the show, because it's going to be a shit show. I mean, NATO's just going to fall in on itself. Trump's going to say, where's your 5%? Why haven't you come to help? NATO's going to say, why aren't you helping us with Ukraine? Zelensky's going to be there, and he's going to do something just stupid and piss Trump off. And then Trump will reverse course on the G7 commitment. And the Russians are going to sit there and go, I mean, because that's it, baby. It's entertainment. So for all the people saying, Russia's got to act now, send a statement. Why? Why would Russia do that? Now, I'm not saying they won't, but if they do, they're going to have a reason. But the best statement is to sit there and say NATO is dysfunctional and watch NATO prove that assessment.
Yeah, well, oftentimes on social media it's shared regarding China, but the statement of do nothing and win, I think that can be applied here to Russia and NATO. NATO is not looking well. It has not been looking well for many years. Scott, I want to make sure everyone knows that your website is in the video description, scottritter.com, where they can follow you and support your work. I also want to mention quickly the case of Dan Kovalik, mutual friend of ours. He was detained by UK authorities under the Terrorism Act in the UK. His things were taken. He's been on this show before. We have done a lot of work together, both Scott and I, with him. All of his devices were taken away. I believe he is out now, but nonetheless, they have seriously violated his both constitutional and human rights. So I just want to put that out there. I'll give it to you, Scott, for the final words, as I think I'll put up the new members and super chats on the way. But final word for you, Scott.
Well, let's just deal with Dan real quick. If you go to scottritter.com, you'll get to my Substack page, and on there you'll see a section called Ritter's Rant. It's actually my YouTube channel. And I did a rant yesterday about Dan. And the point is that, Great Britain likes to talk about a special relationship with the United States, but a special relationship is predicated upon, common values. And today, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, has no common value with the United States. Dan Kovalik this is a lawyer, an international lawyer, a man who defends human rights. He's the good guy. He's on the right side of history. And he was detained because of what he spoke about. He spoke out against the genocide in Gaza. He spoke out against the illegal war of aggression in Iran, and the British pulled him aside. Now, you can disagree with Dan Kovalik, but you can't suppress his speech if you call yourself pro-American. Now, England is a sovereign state, United Kingdom's sovereign state, and they can do what they want, but there should be consequences. The United States has values. We stand for something, and one of the things we stand for is free speech. And I would just hope that all American citizens will rally around the cause of Dan Kovalik and let the British government know that they screwed up, that this will not be tolerated, that you've identified yourself as an enemy of the United States, an enemy of free speech, and you should be treated as such. So that's that. Dan, if you're watching, stay strong, buddy. We got your back as much as we can at this juncture, but you haven't been forgotten. And then I just want to point out again that I just came back from a 3-week trip to Russia. It's a mind-blowing trip. I've written some about it. I'm getting ready to write more about it. We have 2 documentary films that are going to be produced based upon this. It couldn't have happened without your support. I'm an independent journalist who operates on a budget that's defined by your donations. And so far, your donations have been fantastic. They also got me to Turkey for a 3-day summit in preparation to the NATO, the big NATO summit. I just wrote an article about that today on my Substack. Substack's free. If you subscribe, you pay my salary, but if you donate, you actually fund the next trip. And today was an amazing day because a trip I thought I was making in September to do one thing has turned out to be something else, something mind-blowing. And but again, it can't happen without your support. So the coffers are down to zero. Thank you. I spent your money wisely, and you will see the product of your investment. But if you can help me rebuild it so that I'll be able to take the September trip, you won't be sorry. I went to the Special Military Operations, spent 10 days there. because of you, because of your support, but also because of you, because the goal is to gather information and be able to bring it back to you. And in September, I'll have the opportunity to pursue the next phase of potential conflict between Russia and Europe. Whether or not there will be a flare-up in the Baltics or a flare-up in the Arctic. And if you guys think that's cool, go to the Substack page and donate if you can. But again, I want to thank everybody for all the support they've provided. None of this would happen. And I want to thank you, Danny, for bringing me on. And I just want to encourage your audience to support you as well. Dan Kovalik is a friend of ours. It has just been proven they're trying to silence us. They're trying to shut us down. They're trying to prevent all this from happening. They want you to be able to do nothing more than tune into the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and all the other crap that's out there that echoes the lies of the Trump administration, echoes the lies of the war party. If you believe in peace, if you believe in the potential of peace, if you believe that truth is power, then you have to support people like Danny Haifong and Dan Kovalik and others. So thanks.